My name is Anne Xiao, and the issue I have at hand today is climate change. And my proposition is that climate change produces three negative effects around the world. And my claims will be that climate change causes unstable weather conditions, and it also causes natural reserves to diminish, as well as negatively affect the animal population. So let me first start off with how climate change causes unstable weather conditions. So according to NASA, the average global temperature on Earth has increased by about 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit since 1880s. And this 1.4 degrees change in temperature may not seem like a big difference, but the Earth is like our human body. So for example, if our human body is, let's say, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, if we increase that by 100 degrees is like a small fever, but if we increase that by about like 2 to 3 degrees, we end up with like 102 or 103, which is considered a pretty high fever. So in a sense, the planet, Earth is like our body, just a couple degrees difference and the Earth can be affected a lot. Also, temperatures in areas around the world continue to reach its highest. For example, the warmest temperature ever recorded at the South Pole was on December 25th, 2011, which is also pretty recent. And since temperatures are rising, it results in more wildfires as well as more heat waves. Both NASA and Climate Central claim that the heat waves are becoming more likely due to climate change. And the Union of Concerned Scientists say that spring weather arrives 10 days earlier than it is used to on average. So my second claim was that climate change causes natural reserves to diminish. So many living things on Earth cannot adapt to how quickly the Earth is changing. Therefore, many natural reserves and animals are diminishing. According to NASA, the global area affected by drought has increased since 1970s, and there is also the gradual replacement of tropical forests by savanna. Daniel Glick from National Geographic says that Glaciers National Park in 1910 was home to an estimated 150 glaciers. Since then, the number has decreased to fewer than 30, and most of those remaining have shrunk in area by 2/3. My third point was that climate change negatively affects the animal population. So as mentioned earlier, many natural reserves are diminishing, and these natural reserves serve as homes to many different animals. Therefore, the animals are diminishing as well. So for example, polar bears are dying since glaciers melt earlier in the year, and polar bears need these glaciers to hold on to while they go deep into the ocean to hunt for food. So since this is happening, according to All About Wildlife, only 20,000 to 25,000 polar bears still exist today. And according to Endangered Species International, 16,928 known animals are listed as threatened with extinction, and many more are being added to the list. So going back to my claim, my proposition was that climate change produces three negative effects around the world, and these three negative effects are that it causes unstable weather conditions as well as natural reserves to diminish, and it also negatively affects the animal population. Thank you.
All right, Ann, the proposition's fine. The secondary issues are laid out pretty clearly, so structurally I think you're in good shape. On the first point, when you get to that first point in the body of the speech, you really kind of dive into that, and I think you need a signpost indicating that that is, in fact, the start of the argument there. The analogy that you have to the human body is interesting, except that we don't know, we know what's normal for the human body. Do we know what is normal for the planet? If there's variation in what the planet's temperature has been or is supposed to be, then it's not clear that we're operating outside of that normal variance. And I think that that's a standard that you're going to need in order to make the inference that you're talking about. There's a piece of testimony from the Union of Concerned Scientists that says that we've got spring coming 10 days earlier, and the first question I have is, how do we arrange for it to come 90 days earlier so we could just get rid of winter here in Southern California? I'd be perfectly happy with that. Why is that a bad thing? Now, I know that there are reasons that it might be a bad thing. It might affect crops around the world. It might affect migration of nomadic populations. There could be issues concerning water resources, that sort of thing. But I don't know exactly why, from your argument, that we're going to have any of these negative consequences. So you need to develop that argument a little bit more. The argument about the wildlife being diminished, I think, is an interesting one. You've got at one point a reference to 16,000 species that are threatened with extinction. What I didn't hear is any evidence that those 16,000 species are threatened with extinction because of climate change. The one example that you have that shows that there might be a relationship to climate change are the polar bears, and you say that they are dying. I didn't really hear any evidence on that. I heard evidence that says that there are 20 to 25,000 polar bears, but I don't know if that's an increase, a decrease, if that's what the normal population has been. It says there are only 20 to 25,000 polar bears left. How many were there? This is. I'm not saying that there isn't an argument here, but I'm saying it's not very clear from the evidence that you're presenting that there has been, in fact, the impact that you're talking about. The vanishing of the glaciers, I think, is also something that works in a similar way. Again, if there are natural variations, that's something that has to be accounted for. If these are substantial differences that are occurring outside of the variations, then I think that proves the point that you're talking about. We had another climate change argument earlier that talked about the causality of climate change. Obviously, if the climate changes, things are going to be different. The question is, are those differences life-threatening? Are they problematic? The one place that you showed that it's problematic is to the animals, and I think you need to show on the other 2 points that it is problematic as well, that human beings are threatened, or that there's an economic consequence to any of this. That seemed to be a little bit thin. All right. Thank you.